Hello, I am Lieke Coenegrachts, of Belgian nationality, working in Cambodia since 28 years. But start of my work was in 82. So don't be wrong, I'm not miscalculating, because 10 years I was not here in between. I belong to the international group of lay people called AFI. AFI stands for Association Fraternelle Internationale, or in English, Intercultural Association. I am a member since '63. I am now 86 years old and have been working in Cambodia 28 years, as I said. Came very early in the 80s, 82, and was asked to come and help in a program of the Catholic Churches of Europe under the umbrella organization called CITSE. CITSE is a Latin word standing for Coopération Internationale pour le Développement et la Solidarité, and regroups 16 Catholic organizations in Europe, wanting to help Cambodia in reconstruction after the Pol Pot regime. The Catholic Church was not allowed to come in as such, so when I came, there was in Cambodia no church, no priest, no sisters, no any religious organization, and I myself didn't come in with the tag AFI, Catholic Lay Missionary, because most probably I would not be allowed to come. So I came in as Lieke Coenegrachts, development worker, had been working for 15 years in the Philippines, and came to help a colleague of mine. So my help to Cambodia came as a help to a person who had the charge of the program of CITSE. And the program of CITSE had some millions of dollars from Catholic churches in Europe. So we worked quite hard for Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam, because the headquarters were in Cambodia. So my friend Honesta Carpenet used to work here since 1980, and she was a friend who could not handle the program alone, and since she needed somebody trustworthy, she asked me could I come and work with her in this program of CITSE. So I came as an assistant. Later on, unfortunately, she passed away, and I had to take the charge of the program, which was then under umbrella. Because I sticked it out in Cambodia the first 5 years and a half. When I say stick it out, that means physically I was very tired. Mentally I was drained. Why? Because there were no resources. There was only work. And the people here were in so dire need that they needed everything starting from scratch. And our idea and our help was putting them on their feet and let them survive in their own country, not having to run to the border to become refugees. We wanted Cambodia to be a livable place, a place where it was good to stay. And we loved the Cambodian people, and the ones who survived Pol Pot were very determined to work hard to make this place a good place to stay. All the contribution from the countries helping in the program was meant to make Cambodian people the owners of their own life again. So I came with pleasure, but the work was such, and the problems and the stories of people who had suffered a lot drained my emotional capacity. So after 5 years and a half, I was completely worn out, and I had to leave in order to keep my mental health. So I went back to the Philippines for an adjunamento course in the East Asian Pastoral Institute, where I used to follow a course of 7 months, and was asked then, with the experience of Cambodia, to stay in the staff. The experience of Cambodia in the 5 years and a half was very special. As I tell you, there were no priests, there were no churches, there were no religious communities, there was no food for mental, for thinking, for getting deeper involved and so on. We had to invent everything. For example, as you know, it was a communist regime. Officially meeting and having religious ceremonies was not allowed. Although we, as a group of foreign workers, some Christians, some from different denominations, Catholics, Protestants, we decided to meet every week on Saturday or on Sunday because we felt that somehow our faith had to survive and had to nourish us in our work for the Cambodian people. And to be nourished, we need also ceremonies and get together. We need community. So the community we formed by the small group, a handful full of Catholics and Protestants who met every week, praying together in an ecumenical way. No priest, but the Eucharist is something which is central for all of us. So we organized by ourselves even the Eucharist, up to the point that some people, outsiders who heard about it, told us, this is the future of the church. Other people, you're schismatics. So there was a big discussion about what we did was good or not good. But in our case, we opted for the best of our survival of faith, and we celebrated in that small community even the Eucharist, saying together the words of the Eucharistic prayer and believing that through the faith we brought Jesus present in bread and wine, and breaking the bread and sharing the blood, the wine, that was part of the ones in charge changed every week. Sometimes they were Protestants, sometimes they were Catholics. If it were the Catholics, we shared in that way our faith with everybody. It was a very meaningful part of my life because except that moment of enriching and feeding the need of deepening our faith, we had also the poverty of people, which I believe as Christian, as Catholic, we can learn a lot from poverty, especially when people are so determined to walk over it and become again themselves. And if you give them the means, and you reach them the conditions, they will make it. And Cambodia, for me, it's one of the beautiful countries which has shown that they could make it. For example, on Saturday morning, we had no cleaning services in the city. And the city was very, like everywhere, dirty after a week. So the most important people in the different offices, they came with a brush and a pel and a scrub, and they came to clean the streets, barefooted or in sandals. They were the rector or president of this or that organization. People were on an equal level of development. All were back to the ground, but little by little came up from the ground and developed further.
And how do you compare those days where there was not Eucharistic celebration, priest or religious now, with this time of COVID, Do you think there is any remembrance or any thought that you can share with us?
For me, COVID brought me back very vividly the memory of the 80s. So from 82 till 87, I was here. And we had all the lack of what I was telling you a while ago. So during the COVID period, there were also no celebrations. There were many priests, but we were not allowed to gather more than 4 or 5 together. So masses were almost zero. So somewhere we had to reinvent what we believed would help us to survive. Some of us had a Zoom mass or prayer meeting. For example, the Quebec lay missionaries organized a Zoom mass and invited some of us to come. And I was very, very thankful and happy that that existed. Other times, other days, and with modern technology, which was not existing in the 80s, because I remember in the 80s, first time we got a computer in the office, that was in 86. So before we worked with typing machines, very often no electricity, so we called the typing machine the trottinette, meaning you had to work all by hand. So that time, all these technological things were not present, and now during COVID, it's so much developed that we have a lot of choices to make. Very often I followed the Canadian TV Mass, the Canadian daily TV Mass by one of the monasteries in Toronto. The priests are different from Mass to Mass. I liked very much their sermons. So for me, in my home, in my office, sometimes I took my smart and followed Mass that way. Little by little, COVID allowed gathering again together for Masses, not more than 10, 15 people, so we could attend. But we have not lack of priests. Opposite, I sometimes say, Cambodia is spoiled because we have a lot of priests here. But in a certain way it helps. Another way, it might also prevent that lay people invent their ways. In my case, we had even a prayer meeting of lay people, 5 to 6 people, who met every now and then, beginning every week, now every 2-3 weeks, and we pray, preparing the liturgy of the next Sunday. So COVID has, for me, been a kind of memory of a period where creativity was on the basis of our life. And here, during COVID, every now and then I said, we have to be creative. But sometimes because of the institutional church present in Cambodia now, we are even not allowed to do what we were free to do in the 80s, when the communist regime was controlling us. Now it's more the structural church, allowing or not allowing, because the government is controlling them. So I understand that too.
You have lived a lot of experiences as missionary, first of all, in your own country, later on in the Philippines, in Cambodia. So a final message for the youth who are thinking or searching in becoming a missionary.
I think for the moment, there are many different organizations giving choices, offering choices to youth. And our commitment, my commitment, was for a lifetime. Belonging to a group saying, as lay women, the first choice to work was in China. Although with the Boxers and the communist regime, we were kicked out of China. Later on, our group developed in a different way. We accepted even men and lay and couples in the group. Because we are not belonging or entering in a box as an institution. We are trying to be open to the wind of the Spirit. And I think the young people nowadays need some changes. Our group offered the changes, but sticks to life commitment. And that's one of the weak points for young people, because they don't like to commit themselves for eternity. They like changes, as we all know. Marriages are not lasting long. Life commitment is no longer existing. Priests, some are leaving the priesthood. So very difficult to stick to life commitment. But I would say, and maybe you can see it on my face, I have not been an unhappy woman. My belonging to the group and my life commitment, my giving of everything I have in my life for the service of other people has been my joy. And I thank so many people who challenged me to come, and to Vietnam, where I used to work 2 years too, and to the Philippines, and to Egypt, and in Belgium, and in Italy, for all the challenges they always placed and asked, because it asked also adjustment to be capable to enter in this interculturality. And I think our churches nowadays should be more open. We want to be a continuous appeal to young people, because young people need changes and want to learn more. And I think it's not only in our own culture, it's also true and with other religions, Buddhist, Muslims, Cham in Cambodia. So we have to learn, but we have still to be in relationship with the young people and offer them a kind of model, an attractive model, not a sour face, but a friendly, welcoming face who wants you're welcome, come and see.